What's up, guys? It's your girl Haley Pro, aka the SoundChick here. Featured for today's interview, we have solo artist Trevor Goins talking about his personal project, Cathedrals Fall. During our conversation, we dive a little bit deeper into his latest project, Harmonic Dissonance. This album has been in the making for a long time, and it actually covers a lot of deep topics, such as one of the tracks off this album actually reflects on the passing of one of his friends. We also get to talking about him and previous bands playing alongside some of his favorite bands such as Overkill and more. So if you dig solo projects and love thrash music, definitely keep on listening and make sure to tune in to Harmonic Dissonance after the interview.
This is Trevor Goins from Cathedrals Fall, and I'm talking with the SoundChick.
Let's just get right into it. You just recently put out Harmonic Dissonance. Take me through this process. What was it like releasing, a project amidst the pandemic?
It was actually a relief. This album has actually been years in the making. Just a brief history. I've lived in Texas since 2006. Before that, I was in Maryland for most of my life. There was a band I was in previously called Chop Tank in Maryland, and we had some success and whatnot. And once I moved here, I was really isolated, and I kind of got depressed a little bit because there's not a lot of people around here that I can jam with. I have friends who play, but I mean, it's not that I wouldn't jam with them, but for my music, it was different for me. I wasn't sure if, I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm just not comfortable having other people play it, I guess. But right. Anyway. I don't mean to sound snobby at all. I'm not trying to come off like that. It was just, my music is my baby. That's my baby, and I cherish it.
That's absolutely fine.
But now there was a while there that I got kind of depressed. I mean, I would play along with some of the Chop Tank songs and just old riffs that I've worked on with other bands in the past. But then I just kind of got a little bit depressed, and I stopped playing. Even though I had all my stuff out and ready to go, I just stopped playing. It was probably about maybe 12 to 18 months of just walking past my guitars and not thinking about playing them. And then one day I was jamming some Iced Earth in the work truck and came home. My wife was working nights at the time, so I came home and cranked up some Iced Earth and started playing along with it and warming up on my chops and getting some muscle memory back. And then my windows were paper thin back then. We've had them replaced since, but one of my neighbors that used to live next door said that he heard me, and he said, "You sounded really good." And that was all it took. It was just somebody impartial telling me that it sounded good. And then from there, it just kind of took off. Now from there, I started writing riffs, and I ended up getting a somewhat of a recording studio at home, PC-based recording studio. And I tried getting old bandmates, fellow musicians that I've known through the years to try to do something with it. My former singer from Chop Tank flew out here and did some recording with me. And then he and I both ended up in Virginia doing a little bit of recording at a friend's house. And then after that, things with the studio kind of went downhill because we never really got the mixing done. There was a lot of background issues there. But the mixing and the recording never actually came through. The recording came through, but the mixing never happened. And then after a while, I started revamping my recording system here. And a couple of years ago, I decided to break ties with my former singer and just do it all on my own. I was already recording all the drum tracks and all the music here at my house and writing about a third to half of the lyrics already. And I couldn't wait any longer for it to get done, and I was going to do it on my own anyway. And then I ended up doing the vocals myself, rewriting all the lyrics because I didn't feel it would be right to use his lyrics. And here it is.
That's got to be so exciting for you, especially since, the album does have a very intense history, and for you to cut ties with another member and then just finish it on your own with rewriting lyrics, that's definitely like a major accomplishment as a musician, especially like, you know, producing it yourself and then having it be distributed by Misanthropic. That's awesome. I'm stoked that you got that out there. And I agree with you. It sounds pretty good. I'm definitely impressed, and I'm even more so impressed knowing that, you know, you did this pretty much on your own. It's inspiring. So for those who haven't listened to this album yet, what can they expect from, you know, the tracks that are on, you know, Harmonic Dissonance?
Well, the intro track is really just I don't want to say it's a filler. It's the intro track is just, it's like 26 seconds long or 24 seconds long. It's 4 different cathedrals from around the world just recording their bells. I was able to just get recordings of them, not myself. I just went online and found recordings of these different bells at cathedrals, and I mixed them all together, and it sounds beautiful and ugly and grotesque at the same time. Because they're so dissonant to one another. I guess that's the only word I could use to describe it. And then from there, it's just pretty much old school thrash metal. And then there's track 7, which is called Saying Goodbye to a Good Friend. It's an instrumental. That is pretty much paying homage to my friend John, who passed away years ago. He was the singer in one of the bands I was in for a while. Called 10 Feet Thick, and he passed away unexpectedly. He had some internal issues that happened, and a few days later he was pronounced dead, and it was really sad. And I wasn't able to make it to his funeral, which sucked because when he passed away, he lived in Baltimore. I'm living in Texas. I didn't have the time or the resources to go there. Right. But that song was actually he and I were working on something for a short while over the phone. It was some riffs that I had put together, and he had some lyrics for a song that was actually his way of saying goodbye to a girl that he knew that passed away unexpectedly years ago. And he wanted to put it to music, so I threw these riffs at him, and he loved it. He said they're perfect for the song. Well, we never got back to working on it. You know, we each have our own thing going on. And then a few months later, after talking to him, the last thing I heard was that he passed away. So I decided to keep the song a instrumental. It's short. It leaves you wanting more at the end of it. But I figure maybe one day John and I will be able to finish it. But from there, it just kicks back into more old school thrash, mixed with melody.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting album to listen to. I do have to say that I am sorry to hear about your friend's your passing of your friend there, but I do think that you paid very good respects to this track. That's so, you know, special, especially to put it in a musical format. You know, I'm like literally getting goosebumps talking about it. That's music speaks more than words sometimes. So I think that that's really beautiful, you know?
In that track, it's not complicated to play, but it was probably the hardest one to record. It was tough to get through those couple of minutes playing the song and just the emotion behind it as I was trying to record it. You know, it's like trying to keep the tears back, thinking about your buddy, you know, while you're trying to concentrate on what you're doing. It was tough to do.
Absolutely. I know that you mentioned Misanthropic Records earlier. So talk to me about how you got signed with them. Did you approach them or vice versa?
Well, over the past couple of years, I have been, every time if I'm on Facebook and I see anybody who's got a radio show or a personality, you know, they work for a record company or they have their own, you know, they're a DJ, whatever, I would immediately friend them if I could, like their page, and get their contact information. And I kept a list of them in my phone, in a note in my phone. And I probably had a list of 100 different people to send music to once it was ready to share. And Misanthropic Records was one of the contacts that I had from years ago. And, or I guess not from years ago, it's probably just maybe a couple of years ago, because I think they've only been a label for a couple of years. But I sent, what I ended up doing was just sending like 1 or 2 songs in a bio to whatever email address I had. And Eric ended up, I guess I got an email back, and then I think he was messaging me through Messenger and telling me what they offered and stuff. And then we ended up getting a time to meet on the phone, and I spoke to him on the phone. I listened to a couple of the bands, or I listened to their YouTube channel, and I ended up calling him, where we had a meeting time, and I ended up calling him and talking to him. And I told him, I said, I said, there's a couple of bands on your label that I could probably be in the same vein of metal with, but I said, but a lot of them are a lot heavier than what I'm doing. Like, there's some serious death metal bands on Misanthropic, and he said, I don't like to break down metal into subgenres, basically, is what he was saying. He said, it's either metal or it's not. He said, and they're open to all metal bands. So, and he wasn't, when I told him that it was just me doing all of it, that I recorded everything, it was kind of, I heard it in his voice, he was kind of taken aback a bit. He was like, you recorded all that yourself? Like, you did that all? But like I said, it took a couple of years to do it, so it wasn't like it happened overnight. But yeah, he was impressed with that, and the offer that they had for distribution, plus it's not just distribution, they're booking shows all over the place. Even with this coronavirus pandemic we're in, we're starting to work our way out of it. They're starting to book shows in different areas around the country. They're setting them up. And other than that, even just the distribution was worth it, I think, because they're sharing it. They put me up on their YouTube channel, which is great. I mean, all of my songs are on the YouTube channel. I was like, that's wonderful. And then they've got them on Spotify and whatnot. There's probably about a dozen or so different sites that you can buy, you can get the downloads from. But just overall, the exposure has been great. I mean, I had never heard of the SoundChick until after I'd signed with Misanthropic Records. And then I got a message saying, hey, you got an interview coming up with her. So that was good. Now I'm getting contacts from a lot of people in Europe. There was one fan who wants me to send him a CD and a T-shirt if I got one. I think they were in France, but that was nice. Once the CDs get here, I'm definitely going to send them a CD. I figure, what the hell, Somebody went out of their way to tell me directly, yeah, I'm going to send them a CD. But I had this thing with Fireworks Magazine contacted me. They're in the UK. I'd never heard of them, but apparently they're a print magazine. And, it cost me a few bucks, but they're doing they were going to do a write-up on me, and I sent them one of the songs to put out there. I guess they've got a download or something in their magazine, or maybe it's going on a CD. I'm not sure. But I'm just waiting for my copy of the magazine to show up, so that'll be nice to have my name and my picture in print, but never had that before. Just being with Misanthropic Records, at least for 1 year, the exposure is better than anything I could have ever expected.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you're getting so much exposure being on this label. That's really awesome, especially since contacts, in other countries are reaching out to you. That's exciting.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, as we approach the new year here, slowly but surely, what would you say are your 3 goals for, the 2021 year?
All right. Number 1, I don't want to get coronavirus.
That's a good one.
I do want to, I'm definitely working on another album. Comes August, September, my 1-year contract with Misanthropic will be up for renewal. I would really love to be able to have another album ready to distribute with them if I can get it done by then. Now that I've got all the kinks worked out of the recording process, it should go a lot smoother. So I'm hoping I can get another album done. Third goal, to survive. I'm hoping people can hear my music and maybe buy a T-shirt or something or a beanie cap. It's cold, people. Get out there and buy a beanie cap from Spreadshirt. But you know, other than that, I love writing music, and I don't want to stop playing, and I don't want to stop writing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely. You know, here's another fun one for you. What is your favorite piece of band merch you've ever bought yourself?
Favorite piece of band merch I ever bought myself?
Yeah.
All right, I'm looking at it, actually. It is a ticket from the Thunderdome in Baltimore, Maryland. All right, it was an extra ticket from Ticketmaster that I purchased. And the reason why, my band opened for Overkill on this show. And when we did, we got, I forget how many tickets we had, but we had to sell them. They gave us the printed out Ticketmaster tickets to sell for the show. The venue gave us the tickets to sell. And we sold something like, I don't know, it was like $1,800 worth of tickets. However much the tickets were, it was like $1,800. We handed over to them. And we wanted more tickets, and they wouldn't give us any more tickets. But I ended up purchasing a couple of tickets myself just to have them and to give to a couple of friends that were coming. John was one of the people that showed up. I hadn't seen him in years, and he showed up at that show because it was Overkill. But yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I got an autographed picture of Overkill on the flyer that we had printed up for that show that we handed out all over the place, and I've got my Thunderdome ticket right in here with it. So,
that is awesome. I love that.
Meet seeing Overkill on the cruise too, because every band has to do a meet and greet. Seeing Overkill, it was very informal. Most of the bands were formal. You could only have one piece of merchandise for them to sign and autograph. You could only get one picture with the band because they had to keep the lines moving. But with Overkill, it was very informal, and it was a small poster from the show of when my band opened for them, and they were all signed, all autographing it, and they were like, "What's this?" You know, because they see an Overkill poster someplace from whatever date,
right?
And they're all autographing it. And what's actually cool about it is Dee Verney, the bass player, he was the last person on the table to get an autograph from, and I get it to him, and his pen is not working, and he's trying over and over to put his autograph on it. He's starting to get pissed off. It took him like 30 seconds, and I could just see it. The boiling point was getting closer and closer, and he had it flipped over on its back, and he's sitting there taking a pen, and he's like scribbling all over it, and no ink's coming out. And then finally, he just takes a pen from the guitarist next to him and autographs it. So now I have this autographed poster with all these angry scribble marks on the back of it from Dee Verney.
That's awesome. I mean, worth it. Makes for a great story and obviously a great memory.
Yeah, it was cool.
So I have one last question for you, which is, what is some advice that you would pass down to, upcoming artists?
Just keep working at it. I'm 51 years old. I have been playing guitar since I was around 13, 14. And when I started, I wasn't good. I took lessons. I didn't really learn a lot from the lessons except for tuning the guitar, holding the guitar. That's pretty much it. But there's a few people in my life that helped me continue on and get better. My brother-in-law, he plays a lot of blues. He was a blues guitar player, and it was funny because he would show me something on the guitar. He would just play the guitar, and he would stare at you. He wouldn't look at the fretboard. He'd stare at you while he's playing. Kind of intimidating, just a blank face looking at you while he's jamming. But he showed me some stuff. Another friend of mine that I hadn't seen in many years, but he passed away a few years ago, named Robert. He was somebody I went to school with. I jammed with him for years. Now, he showed me how to really, you can play a note, you can play a chord, you can play a scale. He showed me how to make notes, chords, and scales sing on the guitar. He showed me how to actually work the notes out of the guitar to make them work in your favor. But not to get away from the question, what I'm trying to say is don't stop trying to play. Don't stop playing. And something else that, you're not the first person that have asked me, what advice would you have to give to somebody? I also try to tell people, I try to answer it this way. For years, I've been, people would say, hey, you should try to play this, or you should learn that song, or maybe you should play this song, or maybe you should learn how to play like this person. And I get where they're coming from. They're saying that because that's something that they like. They want me to sound like, let's say, Stevie Ray Vaughan. You should learn Stevie Ray Vaughan. You should, play some Stevie. I was like, yeah, I like Stevie, but I'm not playing Stevie. I'm not Stevie. But, I understand why they would say that. But my point is that the path that I've taken on playing guitar and my writing and just my approach to music has been a combination of everything that I listen to for the most part, whether it be talk radio or if it's Arch Enemy or Testament or Overkill or Exodus. It could be anything that I'm listening to. It influences what I'm playing and what I'm trying to get out of the guitar. And if I let's say I come up with a chord structure or a run on the guitar and it's not quite what I want it to be, I work at it until it is what I need it to be, until it's not as much of an effort to try to play it. It's just muscle memory. You got to work at muscle memory when you're playing. But on top of all that, don't be what somebody else wants you to sound like. Find your own sound, find your own style, and go with it. I forget who the guitarist was. I think it was a guy from the Misfits in a beginner's book. It was like an intermediate guide for beginner guitar players to intermediate guitar players, whatever. It's just a really good book from Guitar World magazine that they put out. And he said, even if you know just one note, play the shit out of that one note. so it was just great advice. And I've told people that too. I'm like, if you only know a little bit, just play the shit out of it. Just keep playing it. You'll move forward from there. Just keep playing at it. But don't let anybody tell you what you should sound like or what you should do. As in life, you just find your own path with music, just like you find your own path in life. As long as you're not hurting somebody else, you're good. It'll work out. Just keep going.
Hey guys, it's a SoundChick here again. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Trevor Goins from Cathedrals Fall. In the meantime, definitely make sure to go check out some of the music off of his latest album, Harmonic Dissonance. Personally, my favorite tracks are Brick by Brick and We Are Blood, but you should listen to it for yourself to discover what your favorite track is. I promise you will not be disappointed by this album nonetheless. I enjoyed having you on this broadcast, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. If you're interested in reading up more of my interviews or music reviews that I do, follow me on my social media on Twitter or Instagram at RealSoundChick. This is a great place to see all of my updates, so definitely check it out there. In the meantime, rock on, my dudes.